Assalamualaikum, my name is Arfat and welcome to a brand new video. Today's video will be something different. Today's video will be about how to care for your books, especially when you live in a hot climate whereby the humidity is very high and you have tons of books and you want to prolong the lifespan of your books. Now, even though books they will not necessarily die, so to speak, or for the lack of a better word, they will not necessarily be destroyed unless you do something really crazy, and that is if you have a leakage somewhere in your house and all your books gets wet, so on and so forth. And so that would actually damage your book. But when it comes to like normal humidity at home, whereas the humidity in your room is about 70% or 80%, that's very high. And so what you need to do first is to reduce the humidity level in your room. And so I live in a hot climate, and my room humidity is always around 70% or so. And so you start to find that mold will start to grow around your rooms and so forth. Especially, it will affect and it will attack your books first. And so, one of the signs is that you start to see that your books will start to get discolored. This used to be white many years ago when I got it. This used to be white, and you can see now this is something that you actually cannot beat. You can reduce its effect, but you cannot actually defeat it, because this is a natural occurrence, and unless you really reduce the humidity in your room to about 40% or so, then you cannot actually defeat um, this mold or mildew, something like that. But you can prevent it from taking a much heavier effect on your books. Now, if you have the Hermeneia commentary, um, or any books, for example, books that have this sort of a cover, right? This will be the first to get attacked, right? This will be the first to get attacked by mold. Mold will start to grow on these books, so on and so forth, and it will damage the inside as well, right? It will not just grow on the outside; it will grow on the inside as well. And so I have one good example. Whereas my book, you can see the damage has been done. Right, you can see damage has been done. Um, you can see these white spots and so forth. So these are after heavy cleaning and heavy hair drying, so on and so forth. But you start to find that all these things will actually grow, all these, and so you start to see things like that. Now, if you actually do not take action, you will actually make it worse, right? And so you have to take action if you want to have a nice, if you want to prolong your books, and if you want to take care of your books, so that you can pass it down to the next generation, and they can pass it down to their next generation, so on and so forth. Because in Islam, one of the things that you should do is, as part of your charity, is to actually share knowledge, right? And so these are the one of the three deeds that will remain even when you are in your grave. So it is very important that as Muslims, or as anyone even, that we actually share knowledge, and we contribute to the learning of the community and the larger society. Now, some scholars have interpreted this to be knowledge of the Quran, and some scholars open this up to just knowledge in general, right? And so there's a difference there. Yeah, so one of the things that I overcome this is that I have a dehumidifier. I'm not going to show you the dehumidifier because I don't want to promote the brand, right? But this is just some generic dehumidifier. But you want to have some specifications, and that is the dehumidifier must be able to remove at least around 3 liters or more right? Anything less than 3 liters per day of humidity, that is something that will actually not be useful for you. So you want to make sure that the humidifier is able to at least remove around at least 3 liters of humidity per day. Now the humidifier that I'm using have the capability to reduce or remove 12 liters of humidity per day. And so this is something useful. Now your room humidity should be a healthy humidity in your room is around 40 to 60% or 40 to 50%, right? Some people would say 30%, but anything lower than 30% is actually dangerous. You start to have some eye problems and cardiac problems and so forth. And so 40% to 60% is something that is ideal, right? And so I keep my room humidity level to around 55%, right? Somewhere around 40 to 60, but mostly it fluctuates between 54 to 56, but around 55%. And on top of that, I also have specific areas that I contact. And that is, you can see that I place this sort of thing inside here. Right. So what this will do is that your main solid state dehumidifier, your machine dehumidifier, will actually take care of to reduce the humidity in your room. And then you also need some direct attack, so to speak. Right? You need some tools to directly attack and absorb those humidity so that it don't land on your books and mold will start to grow. So for tight spaces like this, I just put on this, like something you can buy here. This is very cheap, right? And it lasts about. This is about I don't know. This is not 500 milliliter, about 120 grams, right? So that's about, I don't know, maybe about 200 or 300 milliliter also, right? So this is something useful. And you can see I also have a couple of these as well down here. Right, make sure you buy those that are good quality because you don't want it to leak on your books. That would be another problem. Right? And then I also put the main ones, this sort of dehumidifier, right, in some areas, especially the corners of your bookshelf, right. And apart from that, also I have some binchotan. Right, binchotan is basically charcoal that have been heated to a very high temperature, and so it becomes an activated charcoal. And what activated charcoal does is that it absorbs all these bad odors and so forth. Right? This is not a commercial. This is not like something you can buy on the shopping mall or so on and so forth. So this is like you have to buy from a dedicated charcoal supplier. And so yeah, I got some huge chunks like this, right? And I have them all around my room, because if you live in a humid area, and once you start to have molds so on and so forth, it will actually stink your room. And so you want to have some protection, like binchotan, for example, to absorb all these smells and so forth, right? And so, but the main thing is the humidity level. So that is the main thing that you should overcome, the humidity level. Once you reduce the humidity level, your room will become colder, and so you do not need to actually have the AC on all the time, because having the AC turn on and off, can actually affect your books as well, right? Because condensations will happen, especially in, for example, if you have a book or you have books that are being stored in a glass box or glass, whatever it is called, bookshelf, you start to find that the humidity inside is different than the humidity outside, so condensation happens, and that will actually be detrimental to your books. And so it is not actually good for you to actually keep your books within a glass cabinet, so on and so forth. And so, which is why I have my door open here. I don't close this, right? And so yeah. So the other thing to take note, if you like to buy hardcover books, which I don't, but unfortunately some books, when it first came out, they don't have it in soft cover. Especially books that are published by Yale and Oxford hardcover books. They're very terrible because for some reason more will be attracted to these materials, right? And these materials, you can see that at times it will become damp, and so the quality of the hardcover is not there. But it is very difficult because a lot of hardcover materials are made of cardboards and they absorb moisture. And so you need to reduce the amount of moisture in your room. Hence, we go back to having a dehumidifier. And the other thing that you can take care of is inside. There are two layers here. There are two layers. This is the first layer, and then there's another layer behind it. So in between that layer, I actually put mothballs, right, to prevent insects from growing or insect reproduction, even though that's not reproduction, it's for mammals, but to prevent insects from growing more and more, so on and so forth. And so you have I put mothballs all around it, and that actually solves the issue as well. And so that's basically it actually when it comes to maintaining your books at home, especially when you have collections, and especially when you have like ancient manuscripts, especially when you have first editions of books that are no longer being published. For example, you have the first editions of Westcott and Hort books, and so you really want to take care of those books because in the future you can sell them for a huge sum of money, right? And so again, it depends on what you want to do, but the main thing is to keep your humidity low. If you live in a low humidity country, that's not a problem for you, right? So I guess this video is only will be useful only for those who live in a hot and climate country like I do. And so those are the areas that you can actually do to maintain your books. It is not possible for you, for example, if you have a white copy, you have bleach books, okay, books that are printed on bleach paper, right? They're mostly higher quality paper, and they mostly don't turn brown or gray as compared to non-bleach books, like this one, for example. Right, you can see the difference. And this book is older. I own this book first, and this is purchased much later. You can see this is bleach paper, and this is not bleach paper. Right, so bleach paper is much better than non-bleach paper, but again, some university presses or some publishers, they actually want to keep the cost down, so they print it mostly on non-bleach paper. The other thing also is spiders. I know some countries do not have this, but where I'm from, you have tons and tons of them, right? And so spiders, you find that spiders likes to hide inside your, for example, you have a hardcover book, right? Spiders tend to hide inside here, right? And they will lay eggs and so forth, and so you have tons of them. Now, spiders is actually not a bad thing because it actually eats some book lice. Now, it is not possible for you to get rid or exterminate book lice 100%. Right? So, the reality is, if you want to have tons of books at home, and depending on your humidity level of your room, you are prone to getting book lice. And so spiders, I actually use them to actually eat these book lice and to maintain the so-called ecosystem, if you want to call it that way. And so spiders, they're actually good and bad, and I don't kill spiders. Even though the hadith about the spiders blocking the cave so that the people cannot find the Prophet ﷺ, that hadith is not authentic, but I don't kill the spiders because I use the spiders to actually eat the book lice, right? And so it's actually not a problem also because if spiders actually reproduce, I mean, if they lay eggs and so forth, right? And once the food chain actually reduces, they'll go somewhere else. And so they'll go somewhere else. And so that is actually something that you can make use of, which is spiders as well. And then the other thing is that in some countries you do not have silverfish, but in my country you have tons of them at home, in your apartments and so forth. Now, spiders will also get rid of silverfish, silverfishes, right? These are basically insects, a kind of insects and so forth. But again, maintaining the humidity level will actually prevent all these insects from actually infesting, because they like to be in a place that has tons of moisture. And so if you remove moisture, you actually remove their habitat, or you're not making their life conducive to live. And so again, we go back to having dehumidifiers and to actually remove or reduce the amount of humidity in your room. Because all these are papers, and the enemy of paper is water, right? Because it can cause a lot of destruction, and things can get very messy easily if you do not actually maintain from the start. And so yeah, so basically that's it. That's all. I thought I'd make something different, a different video today. Yeah, so Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.